see what's out of line.
Yeah.
And he just touches you. And then he'll touch the base of your spine. That's all he does. You lay there for a half hour. I take a nap.
Yeah?
Wake up and feel good.
Wait, so he doesn't, like, snap you back into place?
No,
just
never.
Just
never.
Pressure points?
Yeah, pressure points. It's
Some
called network.
Network.
Yeah, there's supposedly a guy in Mendham that does that too, somewhere near Kings, but I'm not sure what his name is.
Yeah, because some people, I always hear critics of chiropractors.
Yep, there's a lot of that.
Because they think it started as some, like a fake medicine.
Right.
But it's evolved so much further.
Oh, it has.
And I'm like, how could you judge something based on the way it was started? That's
Right.
so kind of silly to me.
Yeah, well, the doctors in their association, it was a challenge or an alternative thing that they didn't like.
Yeah.
They didn't want to confront it.
Yeah, that is true.
So they said it's witchcraft.
Yeah, right. It's so silly to me.
Right.
You would think doctors would want people to be healthy, no matter if it was coming to them or coming to some other alternative medicine.
Yeah, but I guess it comes down to money.
Yeah, it always does.
Yeah.
It always comes back to greed.
Right.
But I love chiropractors because it makes sense. You want your spine to be aligned, and when it's not and it's out of place, you got to put it back in.
Right.
And the wear and tear of life. Like during hockey, the guy would have to go through my entire body because my knees would be out, my hips would be out, my jaw would be out.
Really?
Everything was out of place because you watched me play. I was pretty physical.
Yeah.
So I was always getting knocked up.
And he would.
He would use. They used an activator.
Yes.
So
My guy does that on occasion.
Yeah. It's fantastic because I'd feel it, and after I'd get sore, but after a while, like you just felt normal, like it felt good.
Right.
And then when you got something knocked out, I could be like, oh, my wrist is out right now,
right,
or my knee. Right. I was more aware of how my body felt and what it should feel like.
Yeah.
So I love that. But alternate medicine too. This lady I was working for my tennis coach, my pro, who's my boss.
Oh,
was
like
at
Trump?
I work at Minimum Golf and Tennis.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah. But, Billy and my mom used to work at Trump.
Right.
But he was like, oh, some member needs help moving out of their house. It was huge. Right. So I was moving her out of her house, and she does Reiki.
Yeah, Reiki.
I always thought it was like kind of BS, witchcraft stuff. Like not real.
Body energy.
Yeah, I don't understand it, but she was explaining it to me, and it kind of made sense. I'm like, oh, she does pressure points, and she helped my dad poop. Like after he had surgery.
Really?
She like pressed pressure points on his back,
right,
and then he had to go to the bathroom.
Really?
He couldn't poop after the heart surgery. He couldn't get anything out.
Wow.
So I guess it does do something. And
I guess. I've never done that.
Yeah. It sounds interesting. She said she'd do it to me, but I haven't gotten it yet. I'll get back to you on how it feels.
Your dad goes to a chiropractor now.
Yeah.
In Burtisville or Baskin Ridge or somewhere.
Yeah, it feels good.
Yeah.
But it also, I think we get medicated a lot for like anxiety and like depression, all this stuff. But it feels like we're treating symptoms instead of the issue.
Yes.
Where it's like, oh, do you exercise? No. Like, do you take care of your mental health? No.
No.
Well, we'll start with those two. Maybe, do you eat better? Do you eat like good food?
Yeah.
Or trash? Like, oh, I eat like shit. Well, eat healthy and maybe you'll feel better.
Absolutely.
But it's just now, give me a pill.
Yeah.
Instant
well, that's
fix.
Instant gratification we're all looking for.
Yeah. I don't like it. We need to figure that out. But so you're from, what part of Indiana are you from?
Southern Indiana.
Okay.
Indiana's like a boot.
Okay.
And Evansville, Indiana's in the toe of the boot.
Okay, so you're all the way down there.
Yeah. Ohio Rivers, Evansville's on the Ohio.
Mm-hmm.
Kentucky's across, and 15 miles to the west is Illinois. So I grew up 30 miles north of there.
Were you in a big town or nothing?
3,000.
Okay.
Everybody knew everybody.
Yeah.
So you had to behave.
Do you have to? How big was this school?
I had 45 people in my high school class. 30
That's
girls and 15 boys.
Nice.
Numbers were good.
Yeah, that helps.
Yeah.
But so you were telling me you hunted frogs in the river.
Yes.
I wrote a script for one of my classes. It was like a short story,
Right.
and I made him a little rural boy
Right.
with his .44 rifle,
Okay.
shooting the frogs.
Right.
So a little inspiration.
Right.
But so what did you do for fun? Like
For fun?
Mhm.
Growing up, you mean?
Yeah.
Well, our parents both worked, so they always left early in the morning, and they would give my brother and I, who's 3 years younger than me, a to-do list, and they calculated it that we could get it done by lunchtime.
Yeah.
And then after lunch, we were free to do whatever. So all my buddies would come by on their bicycles, and we would ride out this rock road about 5 miles to our swimming hole. And it was a strip pit. And if you don't know what that is,
Yeah, I've never heard of that.
strip mining was big in Indiana. Enos Colliery is the biggest strip mine in the world, where they just have a big instrument, for lack of a better term,
Yeah.
to take all the dirt off the top of the coal, and then they blasted it out and took it out with this bucket loader and put it on trucks and trains and got it out. So they would leave those pits, and they filled up with clear water. So some of the pits we swam in were like 90 feet deep.
Yeah.
So doesn't matter. You can drown at 3 feet
Yeah.
of water. So 90 doesn't make any difference.
Fair.
We used to swim out there, and I'd go out and swim almost every day.
That's a good time.
That was our recreation. That, and every garage or every barn had a basketball hoop on it. So if we weren't swimming, we were shooting baskets.
That's fun. Was coal a big job? Did everyone work in the coal industry over there?
The town of 3,000, all the wealthy people in town were the bosses at the mines, and the hard laborers were the other guys.
Yeah.
But a lot of the people in town, that's what they did.
Were your parents in the coal industry?
No, my dad was a tool and die maker, and my stepdad was a tool and die maker, and he worked for RCA Whirlpool, and they made compressors for refrigerators.
Okay.
So then he kept getting promoted till he was superintendent of the refrigeration division.
Okay. That's pretty cool. So I didn't know, did you ever know your dad, your actual dad?
Not really, because I was 3 years old when my mother left him, and I never saw him again until we buried him when he was in his 70s, I guess.
Did you ever want to go look for him?
Not really, because he got a disease and lost his mind, so he was in an institution where he wouldn't have known me.
Yeah.
And I didn't want to see him like that.
Yeah, that's hard.
Yeah.
That's hard growing up.
So I just didn't do that.
That's fair.
Right.
But
so then I had a stepfather who was like my father.
yeah, he's good with refrigerators.
Yeah. Yeah, coal spots.
Yeah.
Sold by Sears and Roebuck.
Yeah. So did he teach you how to like work on cars and stuff like that?
No.
You never do that?
No,
out there?
he didn't work on cars either.
But the engines and stuff. I don't know if there's any similarities.
The only thing I worked on, my first car, was as old as I was when I got it. So I was 18, and I'm driving this 18-year-old Model A Ford.
Yeah.
So I knew how to adjust the carburetor.
Yeah, that's about it. So you're 18. So that was right before you enlisted?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, I was senior in high school. I was 18,
Mm-hmm.
and I enlisted in the Marine Corps Reserve 1949, because we liked the uniform, those dress blues,
Yeah.
sharp, and seemed glamorous.
Mm-hmm.
And you watch the movies of John Wayne and the Marines,
Mm-hmm.
So, and my dad said to him, "Why are you doing that? You don't do that. You'll be the first to go if anything happens." I said, "Well, Dad, they just ended World War II. There's never going to be another war. This is the war that ends all wars." Well,
Yeah.
guess what?
There was another one.
1950, and we were the first gone.
Oh my God. So that must have been, you were alive during World War II.
Yes.
That must have been kind of scary to be living through.
Well, that wasn't really. It was off in the distance. When you lived in Indiana, there were no air raids like Nana lived in New York City. They had air raids, and they'd go to the shelters and stuff, and they had blackouts. But we were so far inland that we didn't have any of that. So life was pretty normal for us. The only thing was there was food rationing, where you got coupons, so you got so much meat per person.
Really?
And
Why did they do that?
Shortage.
Okay. Oh, because they're
Because
changed the factories to making
yeah,
artillery.
Yeah. Well, my dad was deferred because he had 2 kids that he adopted, and so they changed from making cold spots to 45 caliber ammunition.
Wow.
Now, I don't know who loaded it, but they
Yeah.
made the casings and everything.
How did they shift their factory to do that? Did the government give them equipment? Because if you're making the coal spots, and they're just like, we need bullets.
Yeah, I don't know how the transition.
Yeah.
I was so young, I didn't
true.
understand it. And probably didn't care.
Yeah.
I just
Fair.
knew that he brought me some casings without the powder in them.
Yeah.
I may even have one with powder in it.
Do you think that gave you a sense that maybe you did want to join the military because he was showing you these bullets and stuff?
No, that didn't interest me. Showing me the bullets just made me want to fire.
Yeah.
So I guess I got and he was a hunter. So in Indiana, you hunt rabbits. And if you're good, you hunt them with a rifle.
Yeah.
But if you're not that accurate, which most people weren't, you hunt them with a 12-gauge shotgun.
Just aim and fire with that thing.
Yeah.
Would you eat the rabbits too?
Oh, yeah.
How would you eat it if you use a shotgun?
Well, that was
There's
the
a lot
point. All these little BBs.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you always tried to hit them in the head, so you didn't. You threw that part away.
Yeah. Were you a good shot?
I was.
Yeah.
I didn't hunt with the shotgun. I used a rifle. So my dad raised beagle hounds.
Mm-hmm.
They were thoroughbred rabbit hunting dogs, and they were registered thoroughbreds, and he used to sell them. We'd have a litter of 6 or 8, and he would sell them all, maybe keep one, what he thought was the best one out of the litter, and we would hunt with that one. Yeah.
So would it smell it out? How would
Yeah, that's what they did.
Okay.
They did. You would see the rabbit jump up, and then you would take the dog to that area, and he'd start sniffing it.
Mm-hmm.
And then rabbits always ran in a circle.
Really?
Yeah. So if they started off to the right, it would be a great big circle, and you could
Just
they
wait.
would come back to the left, back to where they started from, because they always wanted their nest. So the way we hunted with them, we'd get the dogs on, and the dogs yap, as they chase the rabbit, because they scent, and as soon as you hear which way they turn, whether they're going right or left, then we would cut across and then wait for them to come hopping towards us.
That's pretty funny. I never knew they just because hunting is so foreign to me.
Yeah.
Because around here we don't really do that.
There's no place to go.
Yeah, no.
You know, where I grew up, when I was a little older, because I guess I started hunting when I was about 12,
Oh my gosh.
14.
With a rifle then?
With a rifle. But my first rifle was a single shot.
Okay.
So just one, you carried all your shells in your pocket.
Yeah.
Put one shell in at a time. So
you got to be accurate.
Yeah, not only that, but you couldn't, you had to be very careful with your rifle. And he taught me that before I could get an automatic, because you know, for safety reasons.
Yeah. That makes sense.
So I used that for a while until I guess I bought my own first rifle when I was 18.
Yeah.
I still have it.
Really?
Yeah.
How did you make the money to get the rifle?
Cut lawns.
Yeah.
Back in the day, James, $1 a day was a lot of money.
Not anymore.
It cost me a dime to go to the movie.
That's
dime.
crazy.
Right.
Now it's $20.
Right.
Oh
So it was a dime. So if I made $1 a day,
yeah, you got some money to spend.
I had some money.
That's awesome. What did you hunt the frogs with?
22.
Okay.
So we'd get in a boat and we'd float down the river close to the bank and shoot the frogs, and that would knock them into the bank. Because if you walked the bank and shot the frogs, they would knock them out in the river and they'd float away. So
would you shoot behind you so they would float to you? Or was your boat like always going?
Yeah, it was just floating with the current, so it's slow. And when you shot one, you would just paddle in and pick it up and then continue floating to the next frog.
What would be a good day for frog hunting?
Oh, dozen.
That's a lot of frogs.
Yeah.
Did you so I'm assuming you skinned them and gutted them?
Well, all you eat on the frog is a leg.
Okay.
So you just cut the legs off, throw the rest in the river, and the fish will eat it.
Hey, give them some scraps.
Right, right.
So for the rabbit, you had a skin?
Yeah.
You got that?
Yeah.
You just cut the belly and...
Cut the belly and pull all the guts out.
Oh.
And we always had a knife that we took with us. And so before you left the field, you would gut them and throw the guts out on the ground, because the birds and whatever would eat that. So
that's interesting.
Then when you got home, you skinned them.
Yeah.
And
is it difficult?
Skin them? No, it's a 10-minute process maybe.
Did someone have to teach you, or you just?
Yeah, my dad did.
That's something I want to learn eventually. I got to learn how to hunt, because I want to be able to eat the deer and stuff, or elk.
I never shot a deer.
Really?
No, there weren't really any deer around at the time, or pheasant either.
Pheasant? They like the little... like little rodents?
No, pheasants are birds.
Oh.
Do you know what a quail is?
Yes, I do know a quail.
All right, we hunted quail.
Okay.
But you had to use shotgun for that. It couldn't be that. And when quail stay together in what they call a flock. So maybe 20 birds in a flock. And they look like the ground, so you can't really see them. You could walk right into them, and they scare you to death because there's a flutter.
Yeah.
and after you stop shaking, then you can compose yourself to shoot. So you got to stop quick, because they're out of sight and they don't go in a straight line. They'll
maneuver around.
They maneuver. So so God gave them a little protection.
Yeah, right.
It made you be pretty accurate to shoot them.
That is fun. So that gave you some experience with a gun before you even enlisted.
Oh, yeah.
And it helped at the bars, too, right?
Yeah.
They did. Yeah. They'd serve.
Yeah, if you had a uniform on,
it
didn't matter. You didn't need an ID. So that was an incentive to join the reserve.
That's a plus. So
we had to drive 30 miles to Evansville once a week, every Thursday night. And we'd train for 3 hours, and then we'd come home. We would stop at a different bar, so they didn't get wise to us.
Yeah.
We were only kids.
Yeah. That's funny. What was the training like? What'd you guys have to do for that?
Those weekly, as I was in a mortar company, so we learned to set up a mortar. There's a base pad and there's a barrel and adjusting, so you can sight it in to where you want to hit, and then the siders out closer to where you're going.
Yeah.
And tell you the adjustments so you can adjust to fire a correct round.
That's kind of fun.
Yeah, yeah.
So what was it like when you got the news that, hey, Korean War is going on, you're drafted, or you're out of reserves?
Yeah. It's like, oh my God.
Yeah.
Really?
And you're young.
Yeah, 20.
That's ridiculous.
We're 20 years old.
I say this to you all the time. I could not imagine myself. I'm 21 going to war.
Yeah.
That must have been shaking my boots.
Yeah, well, it was... it wasn't something we looked forward to.
Yeah, no.
You know, the training was okay because we were athletes, so we were physically in great shape. You know, so that part was piece cake for, you know, when I went on active duty, I was 20 years old, 6 foot tall, 130 pounds.
Oh, that's so light.
130
Yeah.
28-inch waist.
Yeah.
Now it's 38.
Yeah.
Or maybe 40.
Yeah, expand a little bit.
Right. So it wasn't hard for us to adapt to the physical part of the training.
So they activated you, and then did they send you somewhere to train?
Yeah.
Before?
Yeah. There were 320 of us in Evansville in the reserve unit. They took us to Camp Pendleton and outside of San Diego, California. Some of the guys were World War II vets, so they put them on planes and flew them right to Korea.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. So, you know, and some of them had soft desk jobs, and now they're sitting in a foxhole.
Yeah.
So
What's a foxhole?
Foxhole, you dig a hole in the ground, so
Okay.
when they're shooting at you, you can get your head down.
Jeez.
So maybe 4 feet deep,
Yeah.
you know, by enough room for 2 guys to get in it, and with your stuff, you know.
So how long did you train for before you went out to Korea?
30 days,
30 days.
which was crazy.
Whoa.
You know, if you go through Marine Corps boot camp, it's 6 weeks.
Yeah.
And physical training plus discipline, because
What was that like?
that's what the Marines are all about, discipline. So
What did they do for that?
they bow breach.
What is that? Bow breach.
They make you feel like an inferior person.
Oh,
So
yeah.
they break you down to build you up, to think you're invincible.
Yeah. Did it work?
Well, I never went through that, but it did. It did work. You know, it gave all the Marines the confidence that they could do anything.
That's awesome.
So,
I mean, you kind of need to if you're going to fight like that.
Well, one thing about the Marines, you knew you could trust the guy next to you, because he was dependent on you. You were dependent on him. The Army didn't have that same feel. You know, the Marines had that esprit de corps attitude. And,
So how do you think they got that?
From the basic training.
Really?
Yeah, called it boot camp.
So
But since we didn't have boot camp, we were looked down on by the regular Marines that went through that. So I guess there were maybe 3,000 guys that served that never went through boot camp.
You're one of them?
I'm one of them. So I'm special.
yes.
A special Marine.
Yeah.
And when I tell the other Marines that went through boot camp and everything that I didn't go to, well, you're not a Marine.
But so what was the difference between a Marine and the Army? Like, because I don't know too much about the different sectors of the military. Like the Navy, I get boats,
Right.
Airplanes.
Well, Marines, they use the Marines for amphibious landings.
Amphibious landings.
Right.
What is?
So when you're on a troop ship with say 3,000 guys, they have these Amtraks, amphibious landing tractors,
Okay.
that crawl down a net on the side of the boat and drop into this Amtrak, and it takes you to shore, and the front of it drops down. So normally, given the terrain, as you approach the beach, they can get you right up onto shore so you don't get wet. But sometimes it'd be too shallow, and when you jump off, you're in waist deep water.
Oh, jeez.
But that was what they used the Marines for, was the amphibious landings. Army wasn't really, most of them weren't trained for that. So all through the Pacific and World War II, they used the Marines to do the landings.
They used those in D-Day, right? Those are the ones that went up on the beach.
D-Day was mostly
dropped.
Army.
Okay. But so you trained for 30 days, and then you got, I'm assuming they flew you over, right? They didn't make
No.
You took a boat?
Yeah, 13 days.
Oh, my gosh.
So we went from San Diego. I'm not sure how many were on this big ship, but it was a converted American luxury liner. It wasn't so luxury.
Yeah.
We were staying. 4 or 5 guys on top of each other in bunk beds.
Gosh.
You know, so you crawl up until if you're on the top bunk,
Yeah.
step on the other guys on the way up.
For 13 days.
So we went to we landed in Yokosuka, Japan, which is right below Tokyo, and then took a train down to Osaka, and there was a Army base there. I think I forget who it was, but we stayed there for 2 weeks because the rest of the Marines were out on shipboard to make the Wonsan landing, and they didn't know how to put us on board the ships. There's just no way they could organize putting reserves replacement into the other group. So they waited. They made the landing, and then we went in the next day, and were assigned to the outfits that we were going to.
So what do they tell you during all this? Do they tell you why you're fighting? Or they're just like, you're going here.
Yeah, you're going here.
They don't give you any of the background.
You were there because the North Koreans had overrun the South Koreans. You know, we were there to rectify the situation.
Yeah. So what was your first phone? You guys are so popular here.
Oh, yeah. Spam calls.
Oh, yeah. That's pretty much the only people that call our home phone now, too. But so you got sent out. What was your first mission? Or what were you doing?
Well, when I landed, you know, I was with 2 guys I grew up with, my 2 best friends. And they lined us up in the morning once we landed there and said, all right, Al, you're Able Company, 1st Battalion, 1st Marines. Gordon, you're Charlie Company. And Bill, you're in combat service. And I said to my buddies, oh, my God, combat service, that don't sound so good. Well, fortunately, they were the guys in those foxholes.
Oh, jeez.
And I was the guy behind making sure they had food and the equipment. So
what was your role?
Out.
Like you just brought them food?
Supply, yeah.
Okay.
Supply. When we went into the Wonsan, we were only there like a week. And then we made another landing. Or no, the guys were moving inland. And so they moved all the supply guys up to Cunningham. And we had a big warehouse there. And all the stuff was coming in. But I was working like a 12-hour shift, loading box cars with 155 howitzer shells. So going up by train close to the lines, and then they would take them off there and truck them into the guns.
Jeez.
So, and they weighed like 75 pounds.
Did you gain some weight?
Pardon?
Did you gain some weight from doing all this lifting? from your 130?
Yeah. Well, in the basic training,
Mm-hmm.
where guys were dying and losing weight
Yeah.
because of the exercise, I gained 20 pounds. All muscle.
Yes.
All muscle.
Oh my
So-
gosh. So the Korean War. So from what I remember from a history class, is it went up. South Korea, like we helped up, and then it came back down, like the border. Well, I'm trying to remember the movement of the war. So how long were you in Korea for?
15 months.
15 months.
Right.
So were you doing the same thing throughout the entire time?
Well, when I first got there in Wonsan, we were getting supplies together and shipping them by truck to the lines because they weren't too far away. And then we moved up to Cunningham, and that's when I was, throwing the 75-pound boxes of shells on the freight trains, taking them up because we're a little further up. And I guess it was 60 miles from, something like 60 miles from Cunningham up to the Chinese border where the Chosin Reservoir was. And that was the big battle of, and it was 32 below zero. So the weapons would freeze up.
Yeah.
You had to keep moving the bolt on your M1 because it was vapor ejected, and the vapor would freeze because there was moisture there.
Yeah. So you must have been
But I was not in that situation.
in the fighting?
No. I
No,
was
never?
Never.
That's good.
No. My closest getting shot at was I was loading airplanes to drop in the food and ammunition, medical supplies and stuff. So I asked the corpsman or the airman, how long does it take you to get up there and back? And he said 15 minutes. I said, wow. It's pretty close. He said, yeah. I said, they won't miss me in 15 minutes. I've never flown. Could I go with you?
Yeah.
And he said, let me ask the captain if you wait, it would make a difference. And he came back and said, no, he said you could go. And I said, by the way, why you have all the holes in the bottom of this airplane? What are they for?
Yeah.
He said, what are they for? He said, the Chinese want this stuff too,
Oh, my God.
So we go in low to make sure we give it to our guys, to drop
Yeah.
it to our guys, and they shoot at us.
Yeah.
I said, I'll see you when you get back. So that was as close to I got shot at.
Yeah. That must have been scary. What were you feeling during all of this?
You're young and you're just doing your job. You think and we were pretty safe.
Yeah.
They really didn't have an Air Force, so we didn't have to worry about airplanes coming in and strafing us.
Yeah.
I mean, they did have some, and the guys in the foxholes had to worry about it, but for some reason they never came to us.
That's good.
Which was crazy.
Yeah.
That's a place to go.
Yeah, right? Why would you would go to the supply and blow up that, and then everyone else is done.
Yeah.
That's wild.
Yeah.
So how long was it below 30 degrees?
Well, let's see. We got there in October, and it started getting cold around Thanksgiving, and they said that in history that was the coldest winter
Really?
they had and have had for a long time.
Yeah.
So 3 weeks, a month, something like that.
That's terrible.
So we had special insulated boots. But the guys, the troops that had these boots on, and you were marching or walking to your next destination because they couldn't have trucks to get everybody to move. Your feet would sweat because they were rubber bottoms on with leather tops, and your feet would sweat. And if you didn't take off your shoes and change your socks, and you stopped for a while, your feet would freeze.
Jeez.
And a lot of guys lost their feet. Had to get them amputated from from being frostbitten.
Do they send you home after that?
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. There were a lot of guys that were evacuated because of frostbite, frozen feet.
That's a terrible thing.
Yeah, yeah. It at times I couldn't feel my feet.
Yeah.
But fortunately, not to the degree that.
Some other people.
Yeah, because they slept in their sleeping bags out in 30 degrees.
Yeah. So So where did you sleep? You slept in just like a tent?
Yeah. Actually, I had they're called pyramidal tents.
Okay.
So 6 of us slept in a tent.
What kind of food would you be eating?
Sea rations with canned beans and little hot dogs, potatoes out of a can until they set up mess halls, and then we would have eggs for breakfast, but they were dehydrated eggs. So to ship them.
Yeah.
So they'd have a barrel of
dehydrated eggs.
Yeah, so they add water, and they were yuck.
Oh, that's disgusting.
No, I don't really remember much.
Yeah. How was the morale of like you and your friends?
It was good.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, yeah. We made the best of it, and
did you ever have like free time, like where you weren't just working?
Yeah, yeah.
Well, how would you fill it?
Played poker.
Yeah.
Euchre.
Yeah. What's euchre?
Euchre's a card game too.
Okay.
And no, you could bet on euchre too, but we played it just for pass the time.
Yeah. You're telling me. I don't remember the story completely, but you were in the water somewhere, and you're like running on a barrel. I forgot what it was, but it was some wild story of. I'm trying to remember.
No, the only water story that I can remember is we took one of the Amtraks and decided we were going to go water skiing. So when we're back in out of harm's way, and we had our supply dump set up on a port, so the ships were coming in. We're getting to take off the supplies, sort them out, and get them to where they should go.
Yeah.
New ammunition stuff. So we got a sheet of plywood and put a rope on it and made it a surfboard and put it behind this Amtrak. Well, the Amtrak goes about 5 miles an hour. So the game was when it starts out and 3 guys are on it, it just slowly sinks into the water until you're all underwater. And the game was see who turned loose first, because just the weight of one guy, it would come back up.
Oh.
So we're out here in the middle of this bay, a mile offshore, and Werheim turns loose. And we come up, but this time he's 50 feet away, and he yells at us, "I can't swim."
Oh.
And we laughed at him. I mean, who in the right world or mind would be out on a mile offshore and you can't swim?
Yeah.
Right?
And get out into the water knowing you're
And then I looked at him. He was serious.
Yeah.
He couldn't swim. He was struggling. So I had been a Boy Scout and got my life-saving merit badge. Fortunately for him, I turned loose and I swam back to him, and made the mistake of just swimming up to him. And so drowning people in desperation, all they do is grab you.
Oh my God.
So what you do is you put your feet against his chest, and then you push, because your legs are much stronger than his arms are.
Yeah.
So you push him away, and then you do a surface dive and go to under the water, and you grab his body, and you feel which way he's facing, and you turn him away from you so he can't grab you. And then you pull him up, and then you put your hand over his shoulder and grab it by the chin, and that leverage makes the body come up, and so you tow him in. So I towed him in.
To shore?
No, I towed him until the Amtrak circled back.
Okay.
And the other guys reached in and pulled him out.
What was that
We
guy
said,
thinking?
"What were you thinking?" He said, "I was all Navy wrestler. I knew I could hold my breath longer than you guys." So, but guess what? Wrestling is a different sport than holding your breath.
Yeah, right? Oh, my gosh.
No.
That could have been bad.
It could have been bad. Oh, it'd been bad for all of us.
Yeah.
If he'd drowned out there,
Oh, you guys would have been screwed.
oh, we would have been still in prison.
Yeah. That's really funny. So
Yeah.
did you ever see like the other side, like the Koreans while you were in there?
Yeah.
What was that? Did you talk to them or could they speak?
We actually had, we call him our houseboy, and I can't remember what his name was.
Mm-hmm.
We gave him a nickname, but I'm not going to tell you what that was.
Fair.
He was a good kid.
Yeah.
He was about 15, I guess, something
Mhm.
like that. And he tidied up our tent,
Mm-hmm.
kept get rid of our garbage.
Was he South Korean?
South Korea.
Okay.
Yeah. He would take when we didn't have clothes being washed.
Mm-hmm.
Well, he would take our clothes home to his mother, and we'd give him a pack of cigarettes, and they were thrilled to death.
Yeah.
So they'd wash our socks and our underclothes for a pack of cigarettes.
Yeah.
And he'd bring them back. You know.
Yeah. So
So that was the only. We really weren't involved with the civilians.
Yeah. So I just, it seems, I'm curious of what it was like because now South Korea and North Korea, it's very, very different.
Yeah.
Like I was listening to this defector of North Korea's story, and ever since the war, I think it was ever since the war, North Korea is just a terrible place to be.
Yeah. Communist dominated. And
It makes me upset that we can't even do anything about it anymore because we know what's happening there. We know people are starving, just dying.
Yeah.
Like the food, 95% of it goes to Kim Jong-un, and then the 5% goes to the wealthy, and then everyone else just has to scavenge.
Yeah.
They're just public executions, no rights. And it's like, why do we just let that happen still? I don't know.
I don't have an answer either.
Yeah, it's probably China, and it probably comes back to money.
Yeah.
But that's tough. So when did you hear that you're coming back home?
There was a Congress lady that later became Secretary of the Treasurer,
Mm-hmm.
and I forget what her name was, but she had enough influence that she said, all the boys that were in Korea for Christmas last year, I want them home for this year.
That's awesome.
So we were big fans of hers.
Yeah.
So I guess it's almost a month
Mm-hmm.
before they flew us. That was my first flight.
Yeah. Ever?
Ever.
Oh my gosh.
C-47.
Mm-hmm.
So there were 50 guys, and you sat in a canvas bucket seat that was alongside the C-47, and I guess there's 50 of us, and they flew us to Osaka, Japan,
Mm-hmm.
and we stayed there for 2 weeks getting physicals and getting enough guys to fill a full transport ship to take us home. So I got home 2 days before Christmas.
That's nice.
Yeah, made it.
And so you were just in Japan. That was when you had the oysters, right?
Yes.
Oh. I had oysters. I went up to Maine. My friend works at an oyster farm. He was giving me some. I could see. How many did you eat that day?
12 dozen.
Yeah, that's a lot.
I don't think Gordon and I ate 100. We got some help.
Yeah, that's ridiculous.
But we ate a lot of oysters that day. Fried oysters.
Fried oysters.
Fried oysters.
Oh my gosh. So what else did you do in Japan for 2 weeks?
Just hung out.
Yeah, that must have been a relief.
Actually, Gordon was there because he had gotten wounded,
Mm.
and I didn't know he was there. And when I walked into the barber shop first day I got back there,
Mm-hmm.
I sit down, and the barber spun the chair around. And it was Gordon. And I hadn't seen him in months.
Yeah.
So we got reunited there. So he knew the lay of the land. So instead of going to the mess hall for a dime, we could go to I think it was the Red Cross, and we would have a steak dinner or something. You know, you don't get in the chow hall.
Yeah.
And then we rented horses and rode up into the mountains and saw their monasteries.
Really? How was that?
That was really awesome to see that. And nobody bothered us. Everybody was friendly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's cool too, because
Yeah.
I'm assuming from Indiana you didn't really travel at all. Did you travel growing up?
No.
So you're in a foreign land.
Yeah.
Exploring. Did that open your eyes to new?
I'd never been to New York.
Yeah.
You know. Our traveling was going fishing.
Yeah.
Down in Paducah, Kentucky.
Yeah.
And
What was it like to see all this new faces, new people?
crazy. Yeah. Just.
Yeah. Did it bring some like insight to you? I feel like just being in the Marines too, with all these different backgrounds
Yeah.
of people, kind of just shows you
Oh yeah. Well,
your way.
my one buddy was from St. Louis, and the other was from Philadelphia,
Mm-hmm.
and they were good guys that
Yeah.
you never forget.
Yeah. Wait, so how did Gordon get shot? He got shot?
Yeah, I'm not a sniper. Got him, and it's sort of funny. They had a latrine set up for the troops, and one of the Chinese had his rifle zeroed in on the latrine. So every time he'd go in there, he would start firing.
Oh.
And so they learned that you don't use that anymore.
Yeah, no.
They relieved themselves someplace else.
Yeah.
But somehow he got shot across the toe.
Oh, really?
So since it was a minor toe wound, he got accused of shooting himself. And of course you get court-martialed from that.
Yeah.
But he didn't. So
That's good.
he swore that he didn't do it himself.
Yeah.
I believe him.
I believe
You
it
know,
too.
I mean, he was on the line for 13, 14 months, and to not really get wounded
Yeah, it's
was
lucky.
amazing. Yeah.
How was Al?
Al got a mortar round, and they opened him up from here to his belt buckle in the front and back
Yeah.
to take all the shrapnel out, and they still didn't get it all. But he came back and played. He was down to 90 pounds. He was 6'3". He came back to
Jeez.
play varsity basketball, and then smoked and drank himself to death.
Jeez.
Died in his 70s, I guess.
So did the war impact like their mental state coming back?
For him, I think it did.
Yeah.
I think all that he saw and the wounds he got, and, I
That's
think
hard to
that's
live
why he
with.
drank that much.
Yeah. I couldn't imagine seeing or even just like taking another life. It
Yeah.
just it seems so gruesome and brutal. I wish they got like people in the military got more help when they came home.
Yeah.
Because even now, there's the biggest veterans hospital is in Syracuse. So they just made a new veterans center, but you just, it's so sad. You just see these people like no limbs, like in wheelchairs, just, and it's like no one's helping them.
Yeah.
And I was talking to this guy on the plane. He worked he worked at Syracuse, and he was just telling me like, yeah, no, there's, once they come back, they're kind of just on their own. It's like, how are you supposed to get a job when your mind's mangled and you don't have body parts? It's sad. And you're not going to have the money too, because the people going into the army or the military aren't the rich of the rich.
No.
So like they come back and they're screwed.
Yeah.
Which I hope changes. Well, my first hope would be we don't have to go to war in the first place.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
But second would be, if we are, we might as well help the people that are like the heroes and saved us. Because the people, it bothers me, people that put us to war are never the ones fighting the war.
Of course not.
Yeah.
If there were to be lesser wars.
Yeah, right? Yeah. I liked back in like Washington and those guys, they were generals.
Right.
You know, they led us and they fought.
But they were in front.
They
right.
were in front.
Right.
And that's respectable.
Yeah,
now
right.
it's like, we'll send 5,000 kids from Indiana and they'll
Right.
fight our war for us. And we'll sit in our booths and
Right.
eat real food and
Right.
poop without getting shot.
Right. Right.
You know, it's that's gotta be something we change. But so you came home, and your parents must have been thrilled to have you back.
Oh, yeah.
Were you too?
Well, of course.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then you hung up you got out of the reserves, or how does
Yes.
that work?
Yeah. I had the choice. When I came home, I was given 30 days leave and then report to Camp Lejeune. So I was home and just hung out with my buddies and went to IU's basketball games because some of my friends were going to school there. And then we wound up back down in Camp Lejeune and stayed there for 2 months. And then they gave us a choice of staying in the rest of our enlistment or getting out right now and being subject to being recalled if they needed us. So I said, I'll take that chance.
Yeah.
So I got out and I went back I was a printer because I didn't want to go to college when I got out of high school. So I went to a school to learn how to run a linotype machine.
A what type of machine?
Linotype.
What is that?
A linotype, back in my day, was how they printed newspapers.
Okay.
So he had this machine that set the type of what you read in the newspaper. So I learned how to do that, and you have to be an apprentice for 6 years to join to be a journeyman printer in the union, and the union's dominated. So without being in the union, you couldn't get the job.
Yeah.
So with my military service and one of my buddies that I worked for, his dad, in the newspaper, as a linotype operator,
Yeah.
fudged my time.
Yeah.
And I became a journeyman printer at 21 or 22. And so I worked for first the Princeton newspaper, and then moved down to the big time in Evansville, and then up to Indianapolis,
Yeah.
to where the big newspaper with 32 linotype machines
Okay.
setting the type for the daily paper.
So what got you out of that?
I was in the union, so I'm 21, 22, and making the same amount of money as this guy is, say, 60. And I said, really?
Yeah.
40 years I'm going to sit here
Yeah, make the same.
and make the same as everybody else?
Yeah.
There's something wrong with this. And,
True.
my buddies were all working on their master's degrees because they had graduated from college and they were school teachers. So they said, you're going to lose your GI Bill if you don't get started. So I was going to night school with them at Evansville University. And so I was just to keep my GI Bill alive. Then I decided, you know what? I better just quit and go to college.
Yeah.
So I became a kid and joined the Acacia fraternity. And but I went to college in 3 years. 3 years in a night school.
Yeah. So what?
And one summer school.
One summer school.
Because I was 27 when I got out of college.
Wow. So what is a GI Bill?
The GI Bill was they paid us $90 a month to go to college, and my fraternity bill for room and board was
Yeah.
$90 a month.
It's
So,
gone up a little bit since
I
then.
bet it has.
It's gone up a little bit.
So all I needed was spending money,
Yeah.
for whatever.
True.
And I had a car
Mhm.
because I was working as a printer, and I had a new car.
Mhm.
And I don't know if I was making payments or not, but I had such a good banker
Yeah.
that I said, Mr. Jones, I want to go to college. He said, well, then only pay us the interest on your loan
Yeah.
while you're there.
That's nice.
And which was not much at the time.
Yeah.
So I did that, and joined the fraternity and had a good time.
Well, what were you studying there?
Business marketing.
Okay.
So I took a lot of marketing classes, advertising classes.
Mhm.
At first, I started, it was called business journalism.
Hmm.
And in the journalism class, they assigned me to cover a professor's literary society and write up a report on it.
Mhm.
So I went, took my notepad, and I wrote down dehumanizing a myth. That was the topic they were going to discuss. I never forget. And that's all I got. I didn't know what they were talking about.
Yeah.
I couldn't even take notes. So I went back to my profession. I said, I don't think this is for me. I'm dropping the journalism part. I'm just going to stay in marketing.
Yeah. That's fair.
So that's what I did. I got a business degree and got a job with Goodyear Tire and Rubber in their executive training program.
And that's where you met Nana, right? Or is that where you were selling the cars?
No. So I was working for Goodyear,
Mm-hmm.
and I negotiated such a high starting salary.
Nice. The marketing is coming into play.
So when I went to my first training store, and they were training me to be the credit manager and sales manager. No, just credit manager. So I spent 3 months there and when they got their P&L in, and I was making more money than everybody in the store except the store manager, they didn't like me anymore.
Yeah, no.
So then I got my next assignment. When I got my final assignment, I said, I became a store manager. I said, what's my salary going to be now? And he said, oh, no, you're not getting any increase. I said, I'm taking on this whole store. And they said, no increase. I said, you got my resignation. And so I went to Florida with a buddy.
Yeah.
And we started selling sports cars. And that's how I met Nana.
Yeah.
Tried to sell her a car.
Did you know when you saw her that was going to be you're going to start dating her? Or what was the story? Because she told me to ask you.
Yeah, well,
about what
the story is, she was a nice young girl, and I thought she was pretty young.
Yeah.
And she wouldn't be interested in an old guy like me.
Yeah.
So, and she took an attraction to me. And
Yeah, she said the first time she saw you, she knew.
Yeah. She had one of her friends fix us up.
Yeah.
So it started from there.
So how, with being no phones or anything, I remember you guys were telling me the story of how you just kept connecting, and it was kind of quick, right? How long from when you met till you got married was
2
that?
years.
2 years?
Yeah.
And didn't you have to go down to wherever her dad was?
Yeah.
Talk to him?
So the story is when we met, and I was selling cars, and I was living on the beach with my buddy, and he was actually separated from his wife, and he said, well, I'm going back home to see if I can get my marriage back. And he left me alone in this beach, and my rent went from $100 a month to $100 a week, and was going to increase $50 a week.
Yeah.
It was going to be out of sight, so I couldn't afford it. So I said to Nana, I got to go get a real job. This selling cars is not
Sustainable.
career thing.
Yeah.
So I went back to Indianapolis and got a job with Ayers department store. Became a department manager,
Mm-hmm.
and then a buyer. And Nana and I did a long distance relationship for that time. She became an airline stewardess. She'd fly into Indianapolis.
Mm-hmm.
I'd pick her up, take her to lunch, put her back on the plane. And I wouldn't see her for a couple of weeks or whatever,
That's weird.
except phone calls.
Yeah.
You know? So when it got down to, she got a 5-day layover in St. Louis, and I
Mm-hmm.
picked her up and drove her back to meet my parents for the first time.
Mm-hmm.
And my friends, my buddy Al, who was had to see who this girl was that had me entranced.
Yeah.
Excuse me.
You're good.
So, so at that point, we knew we wanted to get married.
Mm-hmm.
And her dad said, "Well, I don't know him. You got to come down here and I got to
Introduce.
see who you're getting married to."
Yeah.
So I got a week's vacation, went down, stayed with them like 3 days. He and I hung out, and at the end of that, he said, "Okay, I think he'll be all right." Yeah. So I see a problem with logistics.
Mm-hmm.
If you get married in Indiana, it's a hardship for our family.
Mm-hmm.
If you get married in New Jersey, it's a hardship for Bill's family. So why don't you just get married now here? So, whoa, what do you mean now? He said, "Get your license tomorrow. My friend's a Lutheran minister. You get married at his house, and we'll have a little reception. You get your mother. She's up in somewhere up north Florida a little bit, because she
Mhm.
came down with me, and because I drove down.
Mm-hmm.
And you get your brother to come down, be your best man, and we'll have a wedding."
Yeah.
So
There you go.
that's what we did. Had a week's vacation, went back with a bride.
Yeah. That's not too bad. So
Yeah.
what brought you up to Jersey?
Well, when Nana and I got married, we bought a house with a GI Bill.
Mm-hmm.
So I gave him $5 for a credit check, and my credit was okay. So we bought this little house in a development
Mm-hmm.
around the corner from my fraternity brother, and for $13,000. Can you imagine buying
Yeah.
a 2-bedroom house?
No.
$13,000.
Yeah. You can't even buy an apartment with that anymore.
1960. So I worked for Ayers, as I said, as a buyer, and Nana got a job in an employment agency,
Mm-hmm.
and I guess 3 or 4 months later she got pregnant
Mm-hmm.
and got sick and lost the baby,
Oh, jeez.
and her mother came out and was taking care of her and wanted her back, so we went out, came out here for vacation
Mm-hmm.
a week, and her dad offered me a partnership in his business
At the bar?
at the bar,
Mhm.
and I said, "That's a pretty good deal."
Yeah.
I don't have to give me any money, and now I'm a partner in the business.
Yeah.
It owns a building and everything, and
Mhm.
so I said, "Okay," gave him my notice, and we came out here.
Yeah. So how was the bar life? Like, how was it running a bar?
It was in the beginning. Pat's mom and dad didn't trust anybody,
Mm.
so they worked it all themselves.
Oh, jeez.
He opened it at 7 in the morning because we had a breakfast crowd that came in and drank shots and beers
Oh.
at 7 in the morning.
That's brutal.
And then her mother would come in at noon and relieve him, and he would go home and sleep until 4 o'clock.
Mm-hmm.
And then he would go out to Paul's Diner, have his dinner, and come back and take over at 5 o'clock or 6 o'clock, I forget which.
Mm-hmm.
And she would go home and take care of Pat.
Wow.
And he would work until he decided he didn't want to work anymore, and he'd throw everybody out and close up. 7 days a week, though.
That's insane.
7 days. And he did that from 42 until 1960.
Wow. That's a long time.
Yeah.
That's a lot of work.
Yeah.
So when it came into you running it, then
Yeah.
did you do those same hours?
No. When it first came out,
Yeah.
why I worked from 7 in the morning until 5,
Mm-hmm.
and he worked the night shift.
Mm-hmm.
And then he decided he wanted things changed, so then I started working that crazy shift. I opened up, I worked till noon, mother came in,
Yeah.
and then I came back and worked nights. And we did that 7 days a week until I found a guy I trusted,
Mm-hmm.
and I hired him as a daytime bartender. So Pat's mom didn't have to do that anymore.
Yeah.
And I worked a night shift. And so that was 1960, and I guess it was 1967.
Mm-hmm.
We were in this, really it was a shack of a building
Yeah.
that had, we still had a bar that seated 30 guys,
Mm-hmm.
and a little bitty package store, no wider than this room.
My dad took me in there once.
Oh, he did?
Yeah.
Well, that was a renovated store.
really?
Oh, yeah. Yeah. That was an all brick building.
Yeah.
His was an old wooden thing with had holes in the floor in the men's room.
Yeah.
And a skunk lived under there.
Jeez.
And so we decided, I convinced her dad that we had to rebuild it.
I think that was a good call.
So
The skunk
yeah.
must have been mad.
Yeah, we got Stinky to chase the skunk out.
Who?
He was this little guy that hung out in the bar,
Yeah.
and he smoked these little curly black Italian cigars that stunk like crazy.
Yeah.
So we called him Stinky. And he didn't work. I don't know where he got his money from. He didn't spend a lot. But he's hung out in the bar all day. So
Yeah.
if I had a job I needed done, I could get Stinky to do it for me.
That's funny. So it must have been like a community. You must have seen the same people
It's every day.
every day.
Yeah, every day, you know. And then because her dad was older,
Mm-hmm.
he didn't attract any young people.
Ah.
So it was just an older crowd.
Mm-hmm.
They drank in the morning, they went home, they slept in the afternoon, and they come back
Oh my gosh.
and drink at night.
That's a lot.
And, you know, you get an occasional new person
Mhm.
or whatever. And then when I came in, that attracted younger guys to start coming around.
Mm.
And then when we put on the addition, and I hired 2 bartenders,
Yeah.
you know, and I just worked the store. Then I could work from 9 to 5, and I hired a part-time guy to work from 5 till 10 when you have to close the store.
Yeah.
And so we could have a little bit of a home life.
That's nice. Yeah.
Right.
Because at this time you had 3 kids,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Did you have Uncle Timmy and my dad coming in and helping out in the bar?
Yeah, when not in the bar.
Oh no.
Never let them work the bar.
Mm-hmm.
I don't want them in that atmosphere.
Yeah.
Let them work in the store. If they stock shelves, you couldn't ring a cash register until you were 18.
Okay.
And at one point, they changed the drinking law in Jersey to 18.
Mm-hmm.
So then they could have been bartenders.
Yeah.
But I didn't want that.
So what were the people like in there? Was it because if you're drinking in the morning and drinking at night?
Alcoholics.
Yeah.
Alcoholics.
So what was the atmosphere like in there with the
Oh,
people?
it was lighthearted.
Mm-hmm.
They had a good time. They were always playing jokes
Mm.
on each other. One day, one of the guys brought a live chicken and put it in one of the other guy's cars.
Yeah.
Of course, the chicken pooped all over the guy's car.
He must have been pissed.
So everybody was having fun except him.
Yeah. That's funny.
Right.
But they were just coming to like escape from their lives. Did they talk about it at all, or just having a good time?
They're just having a good time. You know, some are on unemployment.
Yeah.
Some of them work night shifts. Two of the guys that hung out, one was an electrician for himself, so he hung out unless he had a job, and then he'd go work. And get enough money to come back and hang out in the bar.
Fair. Yeah.
And,
so, what were you doing Rotary during this time too?
no.
When did you join Rotary?
No, I joined Rotary in 1985.
Okay. Wow, that's a while. You've been doing it for a while.
Yeah.
So for people that don't know, what is Rotary Club?
Rotary is a service above self organization that gives to the community. You know, that's the motto, service above self.
Mm-hmm.
So we've done a lot of projects in Morristown. We physically cleaned all the monuments, the World War II monuments, and we founded Morristown Clean with Glenn Kautz, who went to Switzerland as a Rotarian on the international convention. Came back and decided we got to clean up Morristown, make it pretty. And he started planting the flowers. They reclaimed the green, which was in disrepair.
What year was this?
72. So I got in much later than Glenn.
Yeah.
And we did all kinds of projects. We planted 100 barrels around the green and down the South Street and the main part of town twice a year until the town took it away from us, which was a real disappointment.
Yeah.
Because we had a good time doing it.
Yeah.
You know?
What were the barrels for?
The barrels, we planted flowers.
Oh, okay.
We planted, I forget what we planted, posies or something in the summer, and then we'd pull them all out and plant mums in the fall.
That's nice.
And then we all go to the Dublin pub afterwards and have a party.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What brought you to Rotary? What got you
one of my
interested?
friends said, well, we're in this organization, we're doing good, and it's good camaraderie to boot. And David Baggish, and he got me to join, and his friend Herb Braunzweiger, who owns Braunzweiger Jewelers. So, and then he said, and we're going to Munich, Germany for the international convention.
Yeah.
So that should be an incentive to join Rotary and come with us.
Did you go?
And we went.
How was that?
That was the most fabulous trip because Herb speaks fluent German.
Okay.
And his wife had a cousin who lived outside of Stuttgart.
Where?
Stuttgart is where they manufacture the Mercedes.
Okay.
So,
I saw that
so
when I went on my trip.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, we went past there.
So David found out that he could buy a Mercedes and drive it there and bring it home, and it would be a used car, so there would be no duties on it. And so it paid for his trip.
Yeah, that's hilarious.
So we had this Mercedes to tour in.
Yeah.
And Gretchen's cousin loaned us another Mercedes. They had an extra one. So we toured Switzerland, Germany, Austria, for 2 weeks.
That's amazing.
And Herb chartered it all because he could speak the language and take us to out-of-the-way places instead of tourist traps.
Yeah.
Fabulous.
That's not a bad gig.
Oh,
That's
it's terrific.
That's pretty fun.
Yeah.
And do you meet every week with Rotary?
Rotary meets every week.
So what have you guys been discussing recently?
Food and taking care of the needy with this pandemic.
Mm-hmm.
There was such a shortage of people getting food, and so one of our guys got a $240,000 grant from the state, and we used that to help feed homeless solutions. I think there's 60 people that live there, and they always fed them lunch.
Mm-hmm.
No, they always fed them breakfast, and then they went out and worked all day, and then they would feed themselves lunch and dinner,
Yeah.
and then come back and sleep there. But with the pandemic, they couldn't leave, so we started with we have an endowment in our club that's got a couple $100,000 in that we started tapping into to help.
That's nice.
To pay for food, and then Nick Walsh got this $240,000 grant, and so we were taking care of two low-income senior citizen facilities in Morristown,
Mm-hmm.
and plus at Homeless Solutions.
Yeah.
So
I just heard a click. I don't know what that was. I'm gonna check it real quick.
okay,
Yeah, I think we're good.
all right,
And we're back
all right.
with a little technical
That's
camera error.
helped.
Yeah. But so we were at the Rotary, I think.
Oh, okay, yeah, we're talking about Rotary,
Yeah.
and
Trying to remember now.
we went to Germany
Yes.
with Herb Braunschweiger
Mm-hmm.
and toured Switzerland. I think I said that.
Yeah.
Austria for 2 weeks.
And then we came back.
I
And
ate
would
so
you-
much German sausages that Herb called me Bratwurst.
Yeah. It's good. So you travel a lot with these people.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it's such a great thing because you're serving your community, which is nice.
Yeah.
And it's you and Nana both have that service part of you. You know, like not a lot of people give back.
Right.
You know?
Right.
But do you think you get something from it?
Oh, absolutely. It's fulfilling to,
Yeah.
for instance, in Rotary, we have something called Gift of Life.
Mm-hmm.
And in the beginning, we were giving children from third world countries open heart surgery
Wow.
that they couldn't get in their countries. And without it, they'd die.
Yeah.
So I was one of the chairs of the committee or something, and I remember picking up this child from wherever he was staying with his mother, and I took him to the doctor, and this little boy is sitting on my lap. He's maybe 8, 9, something like that, little guy.
Yeah.
And the doctor and he was frail, you know, from his heart not being working correctly. And the doctor telling his mother that he could fix him where he'd live a normal life and her emotions. And I was part of that.
That's amazing.
So
It's nice.
That's really
Yeah.
it's rewarding. that in itself would make you want to continue belonging to this organization.
Yeah, that is wonderful. That really is. And it definitely like feeds your soul.
Yes.
It's really truly great. And you help so many people. And then you get something back too.
Yeah, you do. You really do.
So you're a very healthy guy. Like I look at you
Partially.
and you look good. You look good. You know, you get hit on by the women.
Oh,
And,
yeah, all the time.
They love it.
I tell Nana she better behave.
Yeah.
They're waiting down the hall with the meatloaf.
Yeah. And you're still working too, which is crazy to me.
Yes.
Uh,
Well, that's my philosophy. You know, if you have nothing to do, nothing to live for, you're not going to live. But I have projects going on that they need me.
Yeah.
They need me to make this happen.
Yeah. And
So-
you just won the business. Well, what was that award called?
Oh,
Businessman of the Year.
yeah. The Icon Award.
The Icon Award.
Yeah, so now I'm an icon, James.
Yeah. Which is
Who'd ever thunk?
yeah, from Indiana.
Yeah, a little country boy.
Yeah, that's crazy though. So you do think it's just staying active, eating well,
Well, yeah,
service, and
yeah. And, you know, I was going to the gym 3 days a week until
Mm-hmm.
COVID's hit, and now I really got to get back to it
yeah,
because the body's like a piece of machinery. If it's not used, it'll get rusted and inoperable. So you got
Yeah.
to use your body.
and I guess the same goes for the mind too.
Yeah. Oh,
If you
absolutely.
stop using it, and I guess working
Yeah.
and going
Trying
out.
to figure out how to make this happen, what
Yeah.
to do next.
Yeah. I mean, did I just hear another noise from you? No, I didn't. I thought I heard another noise. I was
Oh,
like,
okay.
no, but yeah, no, that's amazing. And you take your vitamins every day,
Right. Oh, yeah.
staying big and fit. And it's cool. Do you ever see a time where you'd stop working?
No.
No, you're gonna keep going.
No, and my boss says, as long as I want to come, I'm welcome.
Nice. That's great.
No matter how old.
Yeah.
In fact, she threw my 90th birthday party and spent
Yeah.
a few bucks to celebrate my 90th.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
90 years old.
Yeah.
And you look good. You look like you're 70.
Yeah.
Not even.
Yeah.
You know? Hopefully I can have the head of hair like you too.
Yeah, right.
We'll see.
I hope it's in the genes.
Yeah, I hope so.
I got it from my grandfather on
Yeah.
my mother's side.
Oh, if that's the case, I'm
You're
gonna be
in trouble.
bald. So let's see. I'm hoping I get it.
Well,
from
I'm
your
thinking. No, my father had a heroin. He died in his 70s. I don't know about his father because
Yeah.
his father, according to my grandmother, was the next governor of Indiana when he died.
Really?
I don't know if that's so or not because
Yeah.
he died in 1902.
True.
You know, but he was the head of the county, and one of his jobs was, one of his obligations was to take care of the needy and the poor. And he took some food out to this family that was recovering from smallpox. And they took down, in those days, they put signs actually on the door of the house, quarantined, so nobody would catch it.
Yeah.
They took it down so he'd bring the food in, and he got it and died.
Oh, jeez.
Yeah, and my father was born 3 months later.
Wow.
So my grandmother had to survive, but fortunately she was a nurse,
Yeah.
so she had an occupation to
Support.
sustain herself and her two children.
Do you think that the death of the father impacted his sanity, like towards the end of his life, like your real father?
I really don't know the cause. No,
Yeah.
maybe just had difficulties.
Yeah.
It wasn't hereditary, I don't think. No, I think I'm
Yeah.
all right.
Yeah. Yeah, that because you were interested. I remember we had a massive family tree
Yes.
in our basement. Did you do all that? Did you find
Yeah.
Trachis? What was?
With my brother's wife. Well, my aunt, my father's sister started it all, and she's got this big sheet, a yellow sheet about 6 foot long, so she could get everybody on the tree, and how it kept spreading out. And then I went online and got this, what is it, heritage.com?
Ancestry.com?
Ancestry.com, where I got a lot of information from. And people's names popped up that I'm related to it. I had no idea who they are.
Yeah. It's crazy how much it spreads.
Yeah, yeah.
And is it true? The Francis Scott Key?
He was in, I don't know if it's the Francis Scott Key,
But there is
but
a.
we are related to a Francis Scott Key who grew up in that area. So who knows?
Who knows? Could
You
be.
know, and somebody disproves that we can claim it, right, James?
We'll take it. We'll take it. Yeah. Every time I hear that, hear the anthem,
Yeah.
it's a Cunningham.
That's right. Yeah,
It's one of us. Because
Yeah.
that tree was really cool. Do you still have the copies around, or do you
Yeah.
still add to
Yeah,
it?
yeah. I could, yeah.
Yeah.
Actually, I have it on a disc,
Mm.
and I have it on the computer. If I open it up, it'll show you our family tree and how many people we're related to.
It is. It's so crazy to think how fast we multiply.
Yeah.
Because I learned in one of my classes that we started from, there was like this huge disaster like hundreds of thousands of years ago that killed off like everyone except for like 300 people. And those 300 people in Africa is where we came from. And they spread. Some of them went this way, some went that.
Yeah.
And now there's billions of us from 300 people. There's more genetic diversity in apes than there are humans, because they call it like a genetic bottleneck. So all the people, we only have diversity in 300 people. So you don't get too much differences. And then it's kind of cool. And then we all populate everywhere.
Yeah, but how does the Asian races and the African races and the white race, how does that all come out of 300 people?
Yeah, so when they go in different areas, like skin color literally just comes from, we adapted to have it, so people that are closer to the equator had more sunlight, so they produced more melanin, which made it so their skin was darker, so they wouldn't get cancer and die. So with the closer you are to the equator, the darker skin you have, so you could survive, pretty much. And then when you're farther away from the equator, like Scandinavia or Canada or stuff like that, you would need more sunlight. So you'd produce, I think it was either you produce less melanin or more, so then you could get more vitamin D from the sun. So that's why you're lighter.
They didn't teach me that in school.
Yeah. So that's why that happens. And then, because when people go, my teacher explained it really well. They used the example of if you have a bunch of, I don't know, deer on an island or something, and then you take, say whatever, an earthquake happens, and it splits the deer in half.
Right.
So half the deer are on this side and half are on that. The right side deer evolve in a certain way to adapt to their surroundings and their environment.
Right.
And this side does the same. So they can evolve completely different from the same thing based on the environment they're in. So that's why the Asians are different, Africans are different, Europeans are different, because they had different environments that made them different people over like thousands of years.
Right.
Which I find kind of cool.
Right.
And even from like, I don't know, it's not that big of a difference anymore for Americans because it's only been like 300 years or something. Right. But just to see people from Kentucky to compare him to New Jersey or compare him to how am I forgetting? Indiana.
Right.
It's so wild how different people are. Because but that's why I love college, because I know people from Indiana, I know people from California, I know people from Florida, Georgia, Europe, Nigeria.
Really?
Like, I know people from everywhere, and I love it because I get different perspectives on how they live their life and what they value and what they don't and how they act. It's really cool to see just where you live can determine who you are.
Oh, sure.
Yeah.
I mean, if you'd ever go out and visit our cousins in the Midwest, they're so different from us.
Yeah. And it's weird. We're the same.
And they come out here and they're lost. They're lost.
It must be weird. Would you ever go back to Indiana?
Not to live.
Yeah.
But it's really upsetting, I guess, because when I grew up in this little town of Oakland City, 3,000 people, somewhere like that, 3,200. As I said, the high school was 300 people maybe. Mm-hmm. And we had a department store. Yeah. We had 2 drugstores, 2 jewelry shops. Yeah. A couple of soda fountains. the lower high school grades hung out in one soda fountain, and when you got to be a junior, you could move up to Upson's Palace. But if you came in there as a freshman, you were like, you don't belong here.
Yeah.
Get out of here.
Yeah.
And we all hung out, you know.
That's kind of cool. I like that though.
Yeah.
It's different, but everything has its pros and cons. You know, that sounds nice. That community aspect
Yes.
of it, because here there's just so many people.
Yes.
Like
you don't have that.
No, you don't know everyone.
No.
You walk down the street, you'll see someone new every day.
Yeah. Yeah.
Which is kind of cool, but also it would be nice to have like a family feel. But maybe one day I should go out to Indiana. I got to see where my roots are from.
Right.
I do think I'm a little bit more of a country boy than I am a city boy.
Yeah.
So
Well, I'll hook you up with my cousin Dick.
yeah.
They're farmers. You know, they now their sons are. I'm thinking your dad's age or somewhere around that. And they farm thousands of acres, James. Now,
Really?
You can't imagine what 1,000 acres looks
Yeah,
like.
no. That's insane.
And they have this big machinery that they do it in and take care of. So
That's a lot.
totally different. They're up daybreak and they
Yeah.
work hard. And
That's a different lifestyle.
totally different. Because it's a 7-day-a-week job.
Yeah. And
You
never
know,
get
especially if you got livestock.
break. Yeah.
You know.
So do they raise livestock too?
Not now,
Yeah.
but at one point, and that's a funny story. Pat and I, Nana and I went out and stayed overnight with Don and Betty in their old farmhouse, and they were farming all the acreage, and it supports a family pretty well, but they thought it didn't make enough money to support 2 families. So their son became a pig farmer, and he had 300 pigs
Oh my gosh.
in the barn
Yeah.
about 100 yards from the house.
Yeah.
100, maybe shorter than that, I'm not
Yeah.
sure, in the barn.
That's pretty close.
Yeah, pretty close. And so Betty says to Nana, pray for an east wind, Pat. Well, Pat had no clue what it meant.
Yeah.
that meant if the west wind came and blew the stink to the
Oh.
pigs, we wouldn't be eating dinner out on the
Oh.
patio.
Oh, that's gross.
We woke up that next morning and Nana said, "What is that smell?" Said we didn't get an east
West
wind.
wind. That's the smell.
Oh, it's bad.
That's gross. Yeah, I don't know if I could live like that.
Oh.
Live farming, working hard every day.
Yeah.
I learned working at Country Mile.
They
I'm like,
grew up in it, so they
Yeah.
didn't know any different.
True.
And if you grow up, it's the norm. Where to us it's foreign.
not.
It's to them it's the norm.
Yeah, because when I would work at Country Mile, I'd say, I can't do this for the rest of my life. Like I need to do anything but labor.
Yeah.
Like I can't do it.
Yeah.
I'm not built for that. I mean, I guess if I was born in it, I guess it would be the norm.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
I got that skinny body type. I'm like you. I'm a
No, you
stick.
know, James.
I'm trying to grow. I'm getting up. I was 150. I'm at 160 now. So
Oh, are you?
I'm getting up.
Oh.
I'm getting up there. Got to get the legs a little bigger.
Don't
though.
worry. In
Yeah.
a few years, it'll be the opposite. You're trying
True.
to get it off.
Fair. Oh,
Like, how do I get rid of this metal?
Yeah.
Exercise. Who wants to do that?
I mean, that's the thing. That's why I never wanted to start exercising. Because I'm like, well, once I stop, it's all going to go away.
Yeah.
So might as
Yeah.
well just stay like this. But my friends at school in my fraternity got me into exercising.
Oh, they did.
They're all massive.
Yeah.
And it made me feel very bad. I'm like, oh, they look good and they're working hard. I'm like,
Yeah, but it's
Help
not.
me out.
It's not good to get all that body mass.
really?
At some point, you're not going to be able to maintain it.
Yeah, true. That's why
I
I'm just
mean,
doing.
you know, really the muscle,
Yeah.
bodybuilder type stuff.
Yeah, I'm just trying to stay healthy at this
Just
point.
keep it all working.
Yeah, as long as I stay healthy, like I'm
Yeah.
fine. I can
Keep
eat what
it
I
toned.
want. I'll keep it
Yeah.
toned.
That's
Keep
it.
it toned.
Just keep it toned.
Yeah, but This has been a lot of fun. I really appreciate. Do you want to talk about anything else before we wrap it up?
It's whatever you want to talk about.
It's your show.
It's my show.
Yeah. You're the bad role model.
Yeah. Oh, I am.
Yeah.
Well, that's probably true. I tried to be the good one, but
Hey, everyone's a bad one. That's the point.
So that's a funny story about being a bad role model.
Yeah.
We went back to Indiana for one of my reunions.
Yeah.
And I called my buddy, and I used to belong to a little country club that only had 9 holes on the golf course.
Yeah.
But they had 2 sets of tees. So the front 9 you played on one set, and the back, it changed it a little bit.
Yeah.
Not much, but a little bit. And so you played 18. So I called PG and said, can you get us a tee time? I'd really like to play the club again. I haven't played it in, 30 years?
Yeah.
And he and I used to be very close.
Mm-hmm.
And we owned, we call it our fishing cabin. We had this cabin on White River.
Yeah.
And 4 of us owned it. My buddy Al, PG, and 2 of the guys. And we had 12 bunk beds there. So we could have a party with all the guys.
Yeah.
And so we went to this reunion, and Pat says to PG, would you tell me about Bill's growing up, how he was, and tell me the scoop, real scoop, because I don't know him at all. I don't know anything about his growing up.
Yeah.
PG said, sure, Pat, tonight at the reunion, I'll tell you everything, because we were playing a round of golf.
Mm-hmm.
And so, all right, she's all excited. So we go to the reunion, and PG is single at the time, and he's hanging out at the bar. And we're sitting with friends of mine from high school. She was running over to the bar. PG, you going to tell me? Later, Pat. I'll tell you. Don't worry, I'll tell you. He kept her on the string for the whole night. So finally, things are breaking up, and she goes off. PG, we're going to leave. All right. You ready, Pat? I'm ready, PG. You better have a seat right here. So she sat down, and he said, you sure you're ready? You want to hear this? She said, yes. He said he was squeaky clean.
Yeah?
That's my buddy.
Yeah? Good answer. Good answer. That's so funny. Were you squeaky clean?
Was I squeaky clean?
Yeah.
Well, it depends on how you look at things. I never went to jail.
Right.
I never got arrested.
Pretty good.
Maybe 1 speeding ticket in my life.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's squeaky clean.
Squeaky clean. Never got caught.
No, never got caught.
That's funny.
Yeah.
So I guess you're still a bad role model.
Yeah, right.
Nah, but I was telling Nana the name is just because you can never follow anyone for what they say. Like, no one's perfect.
Right.
If you follow anyone like that, you're not going to end up.
Everybody only tells you what they want you to hear, not
Exactly.
what's so. Right.
So,
yeah.
So everyone except for Jesus, I say, is a bad role model. But that's where the name comes from.
Right.
And I think it's pretty suitable.
Yeah.
I think it works.
Yeah.
And people don't take it as personal when you say stuff they don't like. Say, hey, don't listen.
Yeah.
Bad role model.
Funny.
Yeah, so it's easier like that. But I think this has been a good time. I'm glad I got over here before I went back to school.
Yeah, me too. It's been fun.
Yeah. So thank you for coming on.
Oh,
Such
you're
short
welcome.
notice.
My pleasure.
Peace.